Hello and welcome to the first official Apaka Podcast Lore Drop. These lore drops were originally created as a way for me, the Game Master, to feed information about my homebrew world to my players, but I have decided to share them as teaser content before the adventure starts. All of the lore drops in this series will typically be less than 10 minutes long and are designed to break the world lore and game rules into bite-sized pieces. In this lore drop, I will be discussing the general overview of the world I have created, as well as some of the specifics of the Central Desert region and the factions that occupy our starting continent. Our adventure takes place on the imaginary planet Toprak, on the continent of Kita Kita. Kita Kita is approximately elliptical in shape, wider east and west than it is tall, north to south. And we have a couple different regions. In the middle, we have the desert. To the west, we have hills and mountains. To the far west, past the mountains, there is a narrow coastal region that abuts the ocean, and there are rumors that it's a fertile land. You know, the land of milk and honey, Shangri-La, the good life, etc. But it's hard to get there because there's a mountain in the way, and no one really knows for certain what's over there. To the south and to the east, there are grasslands and savanna-like areas. And finally, to the north, you have what I'm calling the radioactive north. And that's your classic zombie apocalypse type area filled with broken down cities, abandoned cars, weird creatures, all of those sorts of things. The beginning of this campaign is most likely going to focus on the desert in the middle of the continent. The idea of a guild, or a group of people with a common set of skills that all come together to work as a team, has risen out of the crumbling remains of society, and these guilds vary from traditional guilds with apprenticeships and craftsmen, all the way to what are really just gangs that call themselves guilds. There are 4 major guilds in the desert area that call themselves trade guilds, because they gather and transport resources, spices, and people from their territory to the central trading hub in the desert, and vice versa. 3 of these guilds are associated with compass directions: the north, the west, the east, and the last guild is associated with the central desert. The first gang, or guild, that we're going to talk about is known as the Scorpions. The Scorpions reside in the desert, and they think all of the desert is their territory. But in reality, they have the most influence over the central trade hub. They are kind of this self-proclaimed police force and government authority in a sense. They have members through all of the extremes. You have people on one extreme where they consider themselves like peacekeepers, and they are there to make sure that everybody plays nice with each other and enforce common law. Then you have people all the way on the other side that are just on a power trip, and they joined the Scorpions because they want to push people around, and they use this guise of peacekeeping to do that. So you can think of the Scorpions as like a corrupt police force idea, I guess. So the main area that the Scorpions patrol is a giant, sprawling gas station, which is pretty much dead center in the desert. The locals treat this gas station as a trading hub, where traders from all over can come and set up stalls and barter with each other. The Scorpions essentially prevent the other gangs from coming in and raiding all of these traders that are just trying to take care of their business, so they act as a protective force for this gas station. In exchange, the owner of the gas station essentially gives them a kickback of what he earns because he hosts everything in this marketplace. Finally, their basic purpose is to make sure the trade hub doesn't just fall into absolute chaos. The Scorpions are a relatively loose organization, so when the members aren't quote-unquote on duty at the trade hub, they can act as hired help, so they're pretty multi-purpose. Okay, so let's get into this central trading hub in a little bit more detail. So the central trade hub is a giant, sprawling gas station. But the gas station is more than just a gas station that can dispense fuel. It also has some kind of almost like air conditioning stations where you can go and you can pour your own fuel into the machine to power it and run the air conditioner. And so you'll have traders come from all over and they'll set up stalls and tents and run the air conditioning and use that as a way to entice people into their shop to look at their wares. Basic idea being like, oh, come, spend time in the air conditioning, look at my goods, let's trade, let's make a deal. And so it's got this very nice open air market feel to it. As the merchants run the air conditioning, the gas station siphons off a portion of the fuel that the merchants pay in. So the gas station, quote-unquote, earns an income by taking a portion of the fuel for itself. Finally, the gas station owner uses that fuel to pay the Scorpions for their protection. So fuel can be thought of as like this common source of currency that you can barter and trade with. Okay, so that's the basic introduction to Toprak, Kitakita, and the desert. In the upcoming lore drops, I will discuss the other regions, the other guilds, in a little bit more detail, and I also plan on explaining some of the basics of the ABC gaming engine. If you want a PDF version of the rules, please check us out at patreon.com/easyasabc, as I've made the development version of the rules available to patrons. Thank you for listening.